flickers and falls. In the dead of night, when the shadows creep, I hear a whisper calling from the depths of sleep. An old guitar strumming a lonesome tune, echoes of the past beneath the silver moon. Footsteps in the hallway, shadows on the wall. I reach for the light, but it flickers and falls. Lost souls in the twilight, dancing on the breeze. They sing their haunting melody, bring me to my knees. Oh, the spooky blues, they charm the air. Ghostly harmonies floating everywhere. With every note, a story unfolds of hearts long lost and secrets never told. They reach for my spirit, trying to break through, haunting me softly with the spooky blues. There's a chill in the air, can you feel it too? A presence in the corner, a shadow in the view. There's laughter in the silence, whispers in the dark, engulfed by the memories that leave an endless mark. Old wooden floorboards creak beneath my stride. I dance with the echoes of the ones who've died. In each corner of this room, their spirits seem to play. As the haunting blues follow, they won't fade away. Oh, the spooky blues, they charm the air. Ghostly harmonies floating everywhere. With every note, a story unfolds of hearts long lost and secrets never told. They reach for my spirit, trying to break through, haunting me softly with the spooky blues. Candles flicker low, shadows dance on the wall. I hear the voices of the lost, I can almost hear them call. Every strum of the guitar feels like a ghostly breath, a melody of life intertwined with death. I delve into the echoes, searching for a sign. The love that was forgotten still ties us through time. Through the door, a figure stands, pale as the night, with eyes like burning embers, pulling me to the light. In this haunting moment, I don't wanna let go, caught up in their embrace, and the music's flow. We're dancing through the ages, waltzing in the dusk. Their whispers fill the air like a bittersweet musk. With every note I play, I feel the spirits near. In the melody of hauntings, I confront my fear. So as the night winds down and the shadows start to fade, I hold on to those echoes in the dusk they've made. And though the ghosts may wander, their spirit's always free. They'll forever haunt my soul in this bluesy symphony. Oh, spooky blues.
Love it. The Spooky Blues. Thank you again to Rusty Lillywhite. Another hit. Great band. We are going to be hearing all kinds of songs from them. I thank Steve Stockton as well. That's his connection. Band out of Tennessee, I believe. And it's quite amazing what they're able to come up with. The Spooky Blues and In the Shadows and all the things we love. You know, what's in the shadows? Let's figure it out. Let's, you know, did you see that too? Did you hear that? We're always asking each other all these questions, and I think it sounds funny um, to think about it that way. But here it is. All we're asking is for validation. Am I crazy? You know, if you're seeing it too, I might not be crazy. You might be crazy. We might be crazy together. But the chances that we're both crazy in the same way, you see what I mean? Yeah, well done, Rusty Lillywhite. It's so good. I think that's like the fourth song we've got from them. Um, just really good stuff. It's funny how I think it's because of the atmosphere of places in Tennessee where, you can go to the lake and early in the morning you've got that mist on the lake, or just going through the trails and the mountains and things like that. You can really get that feel for not only nature, but the heritage there, that those walked before you and climbed that trail on the mountain, and, maybe brought a pack of mules going up the mountain for the first time in a century, to build a cabin or set up a smokehouse or something. And that's the first time, that generation broke that trail. It's just, so many things that can draw you back to nostalgia, a little easy, little more time to spend on things that really matter, not so much of the hustle and bustle and trying to keep up with city stuff. There is a difference, you know but I think there's something that pulls you there, and maybe it's because that band being from where they are, it's real easy to get into that, that kind of Black Velvet mood, that one song that just took you right to Memphis, Tennessee, or you know back in the day, the 60s or 50s, like an old car will. A real classic. How's everybody doing? Hey, Henry, I saw some of your videos with your hat changes. I love them. Keep them up. I'm so glad you're doing good. Pardon my tea. I I thought it was great, and I was really glad to hear about all the different sandwiches and stuff. In fact, I had a turkey club in your honor today, so thank you, sir. Mine did indeed have bacon upon it, though, so that was good. I've been having a lot of bacon lately. That's not a bad thing. I guess you're doing pretty good. If you had bacon more than 2-3 times a week, you're doing all right. Hey, Froze, how you doing? Froze will agree with me about Tennessee. It's just something different. You can walk up and climb not very far, or go on a trail in the mountain, or park there, just walking through, and you just feel that pull back. So I think that that's probably why we are getting a lot of really good songs with that kind of, oh gosh, shadowy kind of bluesy, velvety kind of paranormal, supernatural, metaphysical feel out of that band. It's pretty cool. There was a band when I was a kid called Coven, and they did a song called One Tin Soldier, and that song was the lead song, or the main song. I forget what they called it. It was the title song or whatever of a movie. It was used to be a big deal. The songs that went with movies, and it was a big deal because that was like usually the one that was played all summer, on the radio and stuff like that. When you had like Sundance, Butch and Sundance come out, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head played for the next 3 years. Like you could pretty much find it being played. So, that music, when bands seem to come out of that earthy kind of place, it has a little bit of a different feel. Billy Jack, yeah. I'm going to take my right foot and kick you in the left side of your face. There's not going to be a damn thing you can do about it. Remember that? I know. Da, 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 da. I remember seeing that in the theater. I was probably in Monmouth, New Jersey when I saw that. I was probably 10. And yes, I stood up in the theater with my fist up, just like everybody when they carried Billy Jack off. I was the first one to stand up in the theater. Absolutely. You better believe you couldn't make me stay in my chair on that. I absolutely love Billy Jack. I like the real guy too. So there's that. So anyway, thank you, Rusty Lillywhite, the band. We hope to have more of your music. We're just thrilled to have it here. So I put a little bit of a video with it to give it a little feel, a little ghost dancing and get you all in the mood for tonight. So how is everybody this week? Is everybody doing all right? Everybody got your helmets on? You got your seat belts on? Are you blasting forward on emotion, or are you sitting back like hardened light workers and paranormal, metaphysical, supernatural observers? Through your long journey on this earth, we have learned to sit back and wait 24, 72 hours. Sometimes it takes longer than that. Sometimes you need a couple weeks to tap the brakes and go, hold on here. Something ain't right. Could there be more to this picture? Could this be a bigger story than I thought? Maybe I need to back up, 20,000 feet. If that doesn't work, maybe I need to back up again. Oh, there's more involved. Oh, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than us. It's like a lot of people are involved here. Things have to be done right, and they have to be done strategically. And some things may not look as they appear to be. And then some things are exactly what they look like. How do you tell the difference? One, I'm going to give you some advice here as light workers. You don't act on emotion. You look at it and go, that's an interesting fact. Let me put that here. That may be very disappointing to what I was expecting. But I learned a long time ago not to put my feet on the rug, at least not both of them at the same time. I learned to lower my expectations. I learned to understand that things going on around me might be bigger than I am. And I've learned that not everything I hear I should believe, and not everything I should see I should believe. Only half of that, and probably less in some cases. So here's the thing. Light workers need to base their first thoughts, first emotions in the light. Am I wrong? So if you base your first emotions in the light and you go, I don't like what I just heard. I'm a little miffed at it, but hold on, wait a minute. Something's not right here. It doesn't sound right. It sounds like this. But my common sense tells me there might be something else going on. So I'm not going to, piss the bed all of a sudden. Do you understand what I mean? You don't want to go ahead and do that, because what you're doing is you're just making more work for yourself, more emotion for yourself. And you're putting cracks in your windshield. What you need to do is sit back and go, wow, and use your filters, use your discernment, use your common sense. And then you need to look at that person that you might be upset with, or you need to look at that person that might be in this group, and you go, what do I really know about that person? Well, this one I've known for a couple of decades, and this is usually their MO. We're good at that because we can tell in, true crime or chasing serial killers in our minds and all that kind of thing. We can look at a person and go, that's not their MO. This is totally outside of what they would normally do. You see what I mean? So what I'm hearing doesn't make sense. So it must be bigger. It must be more than I know. Y'all know what I'm talking about, because people are losing their minds out there. And I'm telling you, it might be a good idea to sit back, don't get emotional, use your common sense, take in all the data, and let it play out a little bit and see before you go announcing things off your rooftop and you get yourself in a spot. It's hard to come back from something like that. So if you're on social media screaming stuff and everything else, internet's forever. Don't do that. A lot of light workers don't. A lot of light workers don't go into social media when there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, because we have enough just going to the corner store or having to go to work or go into the Walmart or the Target or whatever it is you go to, because you have to be around a lot of people who are going through this wild ride. So I'm saying, for your own benefit, don't act on emotion, act on common sense and rationale. Look at the person's MO, whoever you might be talking about. If you don't know them, put it here, use your filters. Go, I'm not sure how I feel about that person yet, but I'll watch them a little bit more and see what happens. Because there's a lot at stake here, guys. Talking about a country, talking about a world, talking about human beings and their well-being. And some things need to be done in an order. And I don't know, and you don't know. And if there's 12 people on this earth that knows, that would be a lot. That's my guess. So I'm telling you, give it time. Don't freak out. Take a deep breath and go, you know what? I've seen this, and this. And it all tells me that the person that's in charge of this has been doing things, trying to be veiled here, has been doing things to squash out this atrocity since before he ever set foot on an escalator. I have known him for decades, watched him for decades, and see him every day. In and out all the years, watch. Really? Is that, wow, he did that? Man, that's incredible. Take a couple of days, relax, and look at things logically. When things are dumped, important announcements are handed off to a low-level birdcage liner, like some newspapers have come to be, on a Sunday after a holiday, celebrating, and everyone's happy, and there's no signature, no date, no seal, and then others are looking around and going, oh, what's happened now? What do we do? Do we lean into the torpedo? Do we do this over here? Well, they don't know all this is going on, so we have to make this move, and this move. Let me ask you a question. If you were going to do something, if you were going to release a list because you had definitive evidence on something, if somebody called you up, said in your ear, if you do that, we're going to push some little buttons that we have that we still got our grubby little fingers on, and we're going to drown a couple more kids in a camp. How'd that be? Oh, hold on. We don't want that. So we're going to we'll hold it back. We won't do it. You're really in charge. Well, that takes time. You have to stop doing what you're doing. You have to get control of this situation so no one is hurt and harmed. Of course, I'm making all this up, but I know for a fact scenarios like this have happened over the past couple of years, and you may or may never even have heard about it. That's just one reason. There's lots of reasons. We don't know what those are. Believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. And I'm telling you this not because I'm trying to tell you how to think. I'm trying to tell you how to survive. I'm trying to tell you as a light worker with everything going on in this world and the ripples and the feelings and the downright attacks and spiritual warfare that's going on my gosh, so many pop-ups here. Spiritual warfare and stuff going on. You don't need the extra baggage. So we go back to our airport, it's airport time. We're going to baggage claim. What's yours? You have to carry your luggage. What's yours? Claim your baggage. You don't have to carry anybody else's. You have to claim anybody else's baggage. You don't have to put up with their nonsense or their questions or their thoughts or their arrows or their slings or, this and this and this. You can tell me how intelligent you are by how you approach situations like this. If you're a big, nothing, I'll tell you what, these great big dudes, 6'4", 6'5", they come out and somebody says something like this, something happens like this, something, you know, and they just go completely lose it. Completely, everything comes right out from under them. Like leaves in the wind, whichever way the wind blows, and you're going to get all caught up. Sit back, relax, put your feet up. You're a light worker. You don't need to absorb all that. Your job is to sit back and observe everything. You can see where the bad guys are. You can feel that. As long as you're not all gummed up with everybody else's BS. You can feel it. You can get through it. You don't have to win the argument with the person in the office. You don't have to call Aunt June and put up with her bullshit. You don't have to do a damn thing. All you have to do is survive and get through the next, whatever this next mess is going to be, and come out the other side better than you went in. And hopefully you can take some people with you that aren't kicking and screaming at this point. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm tired. And if you're kicking and screaming, I'm not dragging you through the tunnel. You got to get up and walk yourself. That hit me a long time ago. Swim, baby. But I just thought I would say a few words because I know a lot of people right now are losing it. They're misunderstanding things. They're hearing people that they really trust say things that they don't quite understand, never thought they would hear, and don't understand why they're hearing them. And I'm not telling you I do. Understand a lot more than some. I've been doing this a long time, and I can see it. But this is bigger than all of us, folks. And I don't for a minute think it's over. I think it's going in a different direction for a reason, and I think things have to be done in succession, and it's not always going to be when we want it, and most of the time it isn't. But I remember when I was a young kid, and I would watch those Saturday afternoon, Cowboys and Indians was never my big thing because it was kind of a sore subject in my house, if you know what I mean. But because they were always lying about the Indians, and if anybody said anything, somebody would walk by and go, blah, 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 that's not true. And look at how they're portraying us and that kind of thing. So it was a sore subject. But when you'd watch those Cowboy and Indians, for lack of a better word to call it, you'd have a good guy and a bad guy. And it was everything was, black and white because they started out black and white film. And the bad guy would ride a black horse and wear all black and a black cowboy hat and the whole thing. I always thought he looked better. But then you had because I always liked everything in black. That's just the way I am. So if you couldn't tell. So, but I think it's because I'm fighting it so much, the darkness, But as a little kid, I'm watching this, the guy who's all dressed in white riding a white horse, and he's trying to help the helpless damsel in distress in town, and the bad guys, the black Barts and the, whatever, and they're stealing the gold down at the, the little bank, and just fighting in the saloon. And it seems like the good guy is doing all the things and following all the rules and taking all the hits and the punches, and just so many bad things are happening in the town, and the town's scared, and everybody's hiding behind all the swinging doors, and they're hiding in their house. And, the women are clutching, I don't know if they had many pearls back then, but whatever the hell they were wearing, they were clutching it. And he wasn't getting any help. He's just out there fighting all these, these road demons and these bad guys coming through, and any gunslinger that wants to, go up against him in a contest. And the whole time, the way women were portrayed back then is just absolutely crazy. But she's no help. She's a crying mess, falling down and fainting all over the place. Here's this poor guy trying to do his best, wearing white for Pete's sake. Trying not to get dirty in Tombstone or the desert. Think about it. I was always so frustrated. I remember once asking my mom. And I said, this is frustrating. I mean, why can't he use dynamite too? Black Bart's got a whole cave full of dynamite. He's about to kill everybody. Why can't this guy? No, he has to do it right. It's frustrating, I know. And I'm like, God, that sounded crazy. My whole life watching that. The frustrating thing is people don't want to be riding down the road, they don't mind following the speed limit and following the rules and putting on your blinker and stopping at the stop sign to a full stop and doing as long as everybody else is. But if you got a bunch of lawless asses doing all kinds of things all over the place, riding people's bumpers, blowing through stop signs, and nobody's getting a ticket and people are speeding and everything else, you start going, why am I following the rules? That's where it burns you. And the only thing that holds people doing the correct thing, like the guy in white, is your own moral compass, your own common sense, and your own self-control, and your controlling of your emotions. You can't control other people. And I'm telling you that everybody here listening to me that has been with me for a while knows we need to look at this and step back. I'm smiling because I've watched all kinds of people past couple of days. Big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. Men, women, journalists, podcast hosts, big old military, tiny little people just pumping it out there with 1 million subscribers. Every one of them either losing their stuff in all directions. There's some just sit here going, man, this is something, ain't it? This is something. I'm one of those ones smiling because I see the bigger picture. I see the bigger picture. You should too, because you guys have been in spiritual warfare for a very long time. Very long time. So we have to keep the consciousness to a point that others can receive the information that's coming, the awakening, the shift in vibration, whatever you want to call it. But it can't shift to a better vibration if we let it go and start following the path of fear or confusion or anger, stomping your feet and going, no, I don't understand why he did that. He's just doing this and he's covering up that. That man has done more to stop human trafficking since before he ever ran for president. You can go into Grok and ask. The list just keeps coming. And the amount of kids to say that he doesn't care about children, that's the whole reason he got into this, honey. All of that's provable. So before anybody or you let anybody say something like that about him, say, I think you need to do a little more research on that because I believe you're wrong or you might be mistaken. You certainly don't know. If the releasing of this so-called list was going to cause some damage, not to protect somebody, but if you're on the chance of having 2 countries sign something for peace and something about that release would have held that up and more people are going to die on the ground because now you've got another argument on top of the one you just tried to solve, I'd hold it. And I would secretly in the background have a special prosecutor and an investigation. In my opinion, it's already done. It's just systematic release of information. And if people have to come out and say, hey, whoa, we're not going to do that, and they're very careful in their wording, don't give up hope. Don't get caught in all of the other people losing it and dragging you down and making you think, oh, no, I don't. You know what you know. And what have you seen? Just like the paranormal. And I personally believe it is supernatural. Because we don't know everything. And if people that are in charge need to do some finagling, I get it. Because here, let me ask you a question. Show of hands, how many people think that one chubby little fat guy with narcissistic psychopathic tendencies, who believes in transhumanism and wanting to spread his DNA all over the place, just like Genghis Khan, and did some really lousy things, some rotten stuff. Do you think that chubby little punk could walk into a powerful country, walk right up to the president of that country or the prime minister and say, I have this on you, and if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to show it to everybody? How long do you think they'd live? How long do you think that chubby little son of a gun, money laundering, kicking around, being used, much like a Lee Harvey Oswald, but I honestly think Lee Harvey Oswald was probably smarter. That kid wasn't stupid. He just trusted the wrong people. Truly. But think about that. He's not going to be able to do that unless he's backed by something very powerful. So maybe the first part is done. We're done with that part. I bet you he's not even the one that had the tapes. The ones who are in charge would have the tapes. So before you go off half-cocked, you got to think about this stuff. I mean, you could think I'm an absolute fool. That's fine. It's not going to change. But I'm taking this time tonight because I'm dealing with light workers. I'm dealing with people who are in the paranormal and are trying to understand how to get their footing and how to be oaks. And if you need to turn into a willow real quick, you have to be able to do that without losing your roots. And you also have to be smart enough to know that if you got to pull up those roots and move, it's better to do that than to be stubborn and lose everything. So right now, everything is shaking, and it seems like every couple of days there's something that shakes people up. You're being played. You are stuck in the middle of spiritual and 5D dimensional warfare of a different kind. This is an information, misinformation warfare. Don't let anything take you down. Give everything 24 to 72 hours and see how it plays out. If it's something that means a lot to you, you don't quite understand it, look around at some people that you trust, get a couple of opinions, and then glean from that what you can and come up with your own theory and put it on the shelf till the thing works itself out. We just went through so many good things and so many things that have been done in the past couple of weeks. It can't be overshadowed with this because, folks, I think that part is done. And if you come out and you say certain words like, from the evidence I've seen, there's nothing. Do you know what they saw? You know what you saw. You know what you think you saw. You know what you think you heard. You know what you think you know. You know what you have. You know what you've studied over the years. You know what others have studied over the years, and you've been a part of their research. You partook in their research, and then you went and did some of your own. You still don't know what that person saw. Here's an example. Watched every minute of the damn OJ trial. And I'm not going to get into it, but there was one little part, was a lot of parts. But here was another. It was about the blood. It was about the blood drop. That was definitely his blood. DNA was just being introduced into the court system. It took a lot just to introduce the DNA. It was very hard for the jury to understand this. Pulled from the shallow end of the gene pool in a lot of cases, but they tried real hard to explain it. And then they had to explain the fact that there is a preservative that is in your blood, and if you didn't have that in your blood wouldn't move. It would coagulate, and it would be very bad for your veins. So anyway, there's a little bit of it. That was the only bit in the blood that was found. It was his DNA. It was the blood splatter. I've got nothing but respect for blood splatter evidence. I mean, it's one of the things that I, caught on to at a very young age. So what an odd thing, right? So the blood splatter was exactly the drop that it would be from the height of the cut knuckle on the hand of the man that was so tall, so long, his arms so long, the whole shebang they even had it down to not a full run, but like a sprint with his gait and everything else, the blood splatter. Such tight evidence. Not admissible in court. Jury didn't get to consider it. You want to talk about infuriating? Not only was it all of that, but there was a cut on the glove. If it doesn't fit, you must quit kind of thing. There was a cut on the glove that matched the cut on the man's finger. And still not admissible. What did she see? What did they see? What did I new head of the FBI see? Do you think all that evidence exists still from 2006? Let me tell you something. It may not exist in the SDNY anymore, which is the Southern District of New York, where all these cases are held, all overlooked by Maureen Comey, which is the daughter of Jim Comey, who's being in a little trouble right now. But anyway, that's a long story. There might be some in Florida where Epstein was first indicted and given that sweetheart deal. There was a man, I'll let you in on a little inside story. There was a man, I can't remember names, don't ask me. Because, you can go back and you can find it. But he was a prison guard or jailhouse guard, whatever. He may have even been a deputy. I'm not really sure what his rank was. He may have been more of, a police officer kind of guard, okay, in Florida. And Epstein was there. Now, Epstein was given this real sweetheart deal. He got one where he could leave and come back. He got visitors, all kinds. It was just ridiculous. A lot of evidence on that case. A lot of tapes were confiscated. Well, this guy was pretty pissed that Epstein got the case, the slap on the wrist back in Florida, that he took off. And he took a lot of these tapes with him. And he's been in Russia ever since. And he does shows. He's got a channel and he's been out and about. But that's just one place. But here's the thing. What good is all that really going to do you? Okay? Let's hit reality. What people really want to do is they want the finger pointed at people and they want people to say, he did it, she did it, he did it, she did it. All these people touch kids and they need to go to jail and be prosecuted. I'm 100% behind you on that. How are you going to prove it? Not saying don't try. I'm saying, how are you going to prove it? Think about it. So by releasing an address book, is that going to do it? Nope. Not everybody in there has done anything. And 2,000 names, you can guess. Can't prove it in court. So something like this really needs to be handled the best of ability. You could have all the evidence. You could have the witness. You could have on videotape. You can have a name. Unless you can prove it, that's it. You have to be able to prove it in court. You don't want it done in New York, folks. Something had to happen to get that changed. You know where you want it? In Florida. You want people looking all over. You want people that you trust. But if you want my honest opinion, I think they got what they need. Point is who can they go after and get a result? You understand? Are those people still doing it? So to get them for crimes that they're doing now, that's even more plausible because everything is fresh. Everything's right there. But women, you guys know, and anybody that's paid any attention to crime, what are the chances that a woman something, she's attacked, something happens to her, she goes right to the hospital, you get the DNA tapes. Do you know how much DNA tapes with those rape kits are backed up in most cities? And if you have this, and DNA, you might get a conviction. Now you're up against some powerful elite people who are able to do so much, like some royals that walked. We can't stop because it's the right thing to do, just like the cowboy all dressed in white, right? Black Bart might have the dynamite, but if the guys riding the white horse be smart and strategic and with right on their side, they can get the job done. So think about all that, because people out there screeching, I want this and I want that and I want names. What are you going to do with it? I'm not saying you shouldn't have it, but once you get it, please tell me, what are you going to do with that? Because I've been looking at that list for years. And there's been people that have been on there that have been unjustly accused. And there's been people that are guilty as all get out that haven't been accused at all, that I know of, or that I'm aware of, that's done anything. But what if that's coming? What if there's stuff that has to be done before? What if this all rolls in? Why is nobody talking about what's going on with Brennan and Comey and Clapper? That's the beginning, folks. That's where the waterfall started. And you can look it up. You can test me. And I know this is paranormal, but I'm reaching out to my friends to make everybody feel a little bit better with a little bit of information, because you may not have thought of things this way. And you may not know some of this. So tomorrow when you're at work and somebody says something, I want you to just sit back and smile and go, we probably haven't heard all of it yet. I'm going to give this some time. Because I've seen a lot of things gone down in the past that I really like. And I think these people have earned a little room to move and a room to work. Keep in mind, he doesn't have a quarter of his staff in place yet. It's been 6 months. And every single one of those head people walked into a group that's infiltrated with people that want to stall and stop and do things. Like, I personally believe that little letter was dropped on Sunday. The timing was insane. And knowing some of the things that I know that have happened in the past, know how these Black Barts work, these bad guys. And they're not above saying, you do that, we'll do this. And you got to tap the brakes a minute so you can get that cleared up before you move on to the next step. And I'm going to say it again. We have a lot of smart people in this, in this country, in this world, this universe. There's a lot of intelligent people. And I've seen a lot of intelligent people lose it to going on emotion, disappointment. Something didn't turn out the way they thought it would, Well, hold on, wait a minute. And they forget about all the good stuff immediately. And go, whoa, I don't like that. Now I'm this, and this. That's emotion. Nobody is in this for the kids more than me. But I'm here to tell you, it's got to be tighter than a crab's ass. And we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But if you think for 1 minute that man doesn't care about kids, let's talk about the 10,000 that were saved so far that they lost coming over the border a couple years ago. They did match up to DNA because that's what they're doing. They want to make sure that the kids are going to the people that they are related to, not just handed over to a number. 2 years ago, I can tell you personally that 49 kids were sent to one house with one guy. And there's a certain organization that is in charge of taking care of children. In fact, in the title of it is Protective Services. And the quote was, we only get in trouble if they're still here. We don't get in trouble if we send too many to one place. 49 kids went through that guy. They came across with a phone number and a name written on her arm. It's handing over kids. The man that is in charge right now has been trying to get all those kids back. So anybody screaming and yelling that he doesn't care about kids, I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. And whatever he is saying now, you have to learn how to speak his language. If you want to understand, there's several books: The Art of the Deal, The Art of the Comeback, and Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Because with one sentence, stop talking about it. What's everybody talking about? And just like that, thousands of Anons started pulling out evidence that they've been holding on for years. You need evidence? I got evidence. Here, I got the list. I got the flight logs. I got this. I got this video. I have this, recording. I have this research. I have the coming out of the woodwork. People are talking about it. Everybody's mad. Everybody's disappointed and acting on emotion and shaking their fist. But something odd happened. Did you see it? Did you notice? Just like that. Both sides come together on the same thing. In their disappointment. Ain't that something? Both agreeing on one thing. Release it. Release it. Who hasn't seen it? What are you going to do with it? Sure, they should put it out. Yes, they should be transparent. There's a reason they probably aren't. And I'm going to go ahead and trust the big boys on this. We were 50,000 down in our recruitment in our military. 3 weeks, we're well over 50,000. Nobody says anything about it. Border went down to zero, pretty much zero. It's not hyperbole. Yeah, I know they're getting through in tunnels and flying over on storks and stuff. I get it. Not that much. People are starting to be held accountable for the things they've done. But if you notice, it started in the streets. People are now going to be accountable for attacking police officers out there making minimum wage and trying to serve and protect. And they really are now. We're weeding out a lot of people. It's good and bad and everything. But think about it. We're starting in the streets. So, color me crazy if you want. But I'm smiling and I'm comfy. And I've got family members that are just tore all up over this. And they don't understand. And I kind of look at them and I say, you're a little bit too emotional and shaky right now. Why don't you look at this? Go back and read every human trafficking arrest. The first term, oddly enough, some of it continued the last 4 years. And it's really ramped up now. Number one priority. That's why he signed the EO. So, look, he knew him. He threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. And the reason he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago, because all the elites knew him. But Trump had a thing. When I was in bands, I was playing around in New York and New Jersey around the time that he was hanging out in the elite clubs, and I for certain didn't hang out in the elite clubs that he did. But the word was out. Everybody loved him. And the word was out. And here's the thing. He didn't drink, doesn't do drugs. Did business. And the only reason he would go out and go around is, he loved beautiful women for sure. And as racist as he was, he's dated black women. I think he dated one. Gosh, she was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. She was a model for about 2.5 years, as if that makes any difference. But just saying, I know this for a fact, right? Everybody gets everything so wrong with him. But anyway, he would go to Studio 54 or whatever, and he would be sober, and he'd watch everybody else and how they act. The next day, he'd know how to run his business meeting, or whether or not he wanted to do business with you because of your character, because of how you acted, how you treated yourself, how you respected yourself, how you carried yourself. And he would say these slobs go and it's all coke and, women and the way it's just disgusting. He's got OCDs and he's extremely clean. He's kind of a germaphobe. So all these people saying that he did this or would do that or would do, never. You just don't know. So looking at all the stuff, you have to go back to what you know, because the other stuff you just think you know. Be careful of documents. You don't know what you're reading. Look to people that are good at that, at telling you whether a video has been tampered with or if a picture's right or wrong. Don't believe everything, especially the headlines. There's so many bots and so many people out there just throwing up all these raw headlines that mean absolutely nothing. Just get off of social media for a while. I'm giving a lot of friends to tap breaks. I've got 3 or 4 friends that no matter what happens, there is a panic every day. And if that panic goes past whatever that situation was, it's replaced with another one immediately. They're almost caught up in this chain of anxiety where they have to have some type of chaos to be absolutely just in complete, I don't know how to put it, anxiety town, where they have to be upset and they have to be, in this high intensity fear mode. You're playing into the hands of the enemy, folks. No fear. You are in something special right now. You are alive during a time that is so incredible. Don't let them ruin it for you. You have good discernment. You're good at this. If you can decipher a ghost case that you're on or your own, you can decipher this. This is a zero-sum game, folks. This is Casino Royale. Do you understand me? This is for all the marbles. And if the man I voted in, no, I have no regrets. I voted for every bit of this. Because I know something's being done in the background. I know what's already been done in the background that nobody really hears about because everybody's so busy doing other things. There are so many layers to this. So many layers. You got to watch. And the best thing that you can do, it's like dating. We have high hopes. You watch soap operas, you watch a show, you go to see the movie, the movie star, you think this is the way it's supposed to be. And you get on the date and it's, Louis from the deli or whatever. And then you find out if you give Louis a chance, he's probably the nicest guy in the bunch. But that's not the point. Lower your expectations. They say never meet your heroes because you're going to be disappointed. I second that emotion. The fantasy is always better than the reality. But this is for all the marbles. This is for kids' futures. And right now, I'm going to tell you everything that I know up until this point. There's no way that the few people that I know that are making decisions up there would allow people to go by or cover for them because of this, or this. And now if it would cause a war, these are the things that generals decide. This is why you have a military and a commander-in-chief. If we wait 6 months and do this first, then we can do this and it won't cause a war. But if we do it now, because we have a bunch of screaming memes telling us that they know more than we do, and, they want this now, we need to go out and tell them, we can't tell you anything, but you're going to be happy in a little bit. Just Let us breathe. You've waited a long time. Let's get this right. Got to be tighter than a crab's ass. Surgical. What if that's true? Again, just off the top of my head. I bet you can think of some reasons that would make sense too. So let him breathe. Hopium? Do you mean that in a, I'm going to hope for this? Well, here's the thing, Ted. Nobody's ever going to take hope from me, because once hope dies, you start to die. Once you stop living in the hope and the expectation of things have a chance to get better tomorrow, you stop trying. And I'm of the ilk, the ancestors that walked in my shoe, in my path before me, were ones who lived through things like the Trail of Tears. And with the Trail of Tears, you didn't give up. If you gave up, you fell, you died. You could have stories like the Oregon Trail, same thing. People with intestinal fortitude that drive on. They drive on because they believe in something bigger than themselves. They believe that to move on and to change your physical presence and your surroundings, and to change yourself in some ways, could better their lives and the lives of others around them. If it would be giving up is easy, being cynical is easy, not trusting anybody is easy. Sometimes we get there the hard way, but it's easy. It's easy to, that's it. Nothing ever works out. Nothing's ever going to work out fine. Everybody's a liar. Everybody's a bad guy. Everybody's wearing a black hat. Everybody's riding a black horse. I'll never give up the hope that if I keep moving and I keep believing and I carry the light with me, wherever I go, that spot has a chance of being better. I can make it better or I can make it worse. I can bring my negativity. I can bring my nasty comments. I can bring and I'm not saying that was a nasty comment. I'm thinking about work right now. Nasty comments or the sarcastic, like, and I'll look at you right now and I don't care anymore. I'll look at somebody and say, really? Do you have any idea how much this was? Oh, but wait a minute. You said you cared, but you don't know what this EO is? Oh, so you don't know what you're talking about. You're just reacting emotionally to something that you read and you think you understand it, but now you're standing here proclaiming it to 10 other people who are listening to you spread lies. That is misinformation and disinformation. And you're stealing other people's. Although they be weak if they can be stolen that quick. But you're stealing their hope. We're supposed to be spreading hope. We're supposed to be spreading the idea of keep on swimming. You see what I'm saying? Mob rule isn't. Although I am in favor of maybe bringing back some tar and feather, but probably not for the same people y'all think. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I just wanted to come on and say a little bit about that and, look at some ghost stories. But to me, like I say, and you guys know me, I always think it is one and the same. When we watch a ghost story and we talk about it together at the same time and we're guessing at what's going down and, is this is it a bad entity? Is it, somebody that needs help? Is it a poltergeist? Is it stone tape theory? Is the guy nuts? Is he, is it the good drugs? Who knows? Whatever it may be. It helps you discern. It keeps that muscle sharp. That's why I've been doing a lot of these lately. Yeah, no kidding, Ted. That I'm for too. But here's the thing, don't let anybody lie to you. I know that some of these things have been done in a timing thing as far as the criminality that God, I just, people like Stephen Miller, I just love him so much. But here's the thing. This has been done and played out so well. It's really beautiful, and that's why I kind of can laugh through stuff like this, because I'm like, wait do you guys see what's going on? You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I'm just back here like a Cheshire cat. Just trust me, I'm like this all the time. And it's been so planned out that in some cases there was a statute of limitation on some things. But if you take that and you bring that in to another, let's just say another crime, something else that was done, you can actually reactivate that. So listen, you've got to understand law, and when the guy all in white, the cowboy, the good guy, the sheriff, whatever he was, the gunslinger, saves the girl and all that, things look really dire right up into that point. And you just know that guy's going to light the fuse on that dynamite, and the whole town's going to go. And he's going to get the girl, and they're going to ride off with her curls bouncing and screaming off on the horse, right? But when you know that everything has been a slow build up to get everything right where it needs to go, they can't stop that because others don't get it. They can try to explain it. They can leave you hanging and just let everything happen. You think, how dare you just put that information out there? Oh, but wait. Everybody's screaming for the same thing. That's the first time in 8 years that a lot of people have been on the same page. It's no small feat, y'all. Pretty brilliant, if you ask me. Now everybody's paying attention, and everybody's pulling out their evidence, and people are pulling out evidence and talking about it and finding out, you know what? That wasn't true. We got duped. That little piece right there isn't true. Oh, wait, but this isn't. That's even bigger. This is a very complex situation. And you're talking to somebody who watched the FBI raid that island live. Put cardboard on the windows so we couldn't see in. We know what's going on. Nobody is saying nothing happened. What they're saying is they're not seeing the evidence. What they're saying at this point, up to this point, what they're saying in public, they haven't seen any evidence to persecute or prosecute anybody at this point from that angle. From that angle. Doesn't mean it's all gone. And it doesn't mean anything's not being done. But you can't come out on national TV and say, look, this is what's happening. We're going to do this, this, and this. And we're going to surprise the bad guys. We're going to surprise these people over here. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to do this. And then we're going to pull this one. And that's going to be a nice sting. And then we're going to go over here. We're going to have some lunch. And then we're going to take him out. They can't do that because the bad guys are here too. So you're just going to have to be a little tougher, a little stronger. You don't have to like it. But when you start getting crazy, I want you to think, what's already happened? If I really go back and take the time and research over the past couple of weeks, all the really good things that have happened. Now, I might not understand this. And, Betty Jane down there at work, she seems to be real strong on the fact that, oh, they're going to cut Medicaid, taking $91 billion right out of it. No, honey, they're not. They're cutting people that don't deserve to have Medicaid off, saving that money, therefore allowing the Medicaid costs to come down for the people who are supposed to be on it. They're doing the reverse of what happened to us over the past few years, where everybody's went up because the people that were supposed to be on it were actually paying for the people that weren't supposed to be on it. And there's going to be things put in place. Like if you're on this, you need to work a certain amount, 40 hours a week or something. Community service, do something in the community. You're not going to just sit home and collect money unless you're disabled, and that's a different spot. Then I'm here, oh, now we're going to have amnesty. I've never seen so many ignorant people. After all this time, you just jump and you start thinking, no, that's not what was said at all. The exact words were, I'm going to put you in charge of it. I need this looked into. There must be a way that we can take a farm that's had 20 workers, 30 workers that have worked for them 10, 15 years. They're working, they're paying taxes, whatever's happening. Here's what I want done. We want something like this worked out. These are not my words. These are his. I listened to the whole meeting. Okay. I want somebody to come up with something that will fast track. They must be fined, and the person who hired them must be fined $1,000 each. Okay. That money will go in if the farmer or the owner of the business or whatever will vouch for these people. They can be fast tracked to a work visa, just like we did back in the 50s or 60s. That is not amnesty. They're paying a fine. If by any chance they commit any crimes, DUI included, caught driving without a license, anything, automatically visa is taken away and they got to go. That's for some. That is for people who are willing to vouch for and has a farm or has a factory or whatever. And it's in the works. It's not blanket amnesty. It's the same thing we did in the 50s and 60s and what was supposed to be done in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but it got out of hand. And they're trying to tighten that back up again. That's what you're hearing. It's not even been put in place yet. They're just talking about it. And I saw a thing on the other day. So, the reason he's doing it is he's got hotels and he wants to keep. All right, you're ignorant. You have no idea what you're talking about. And that's coming from anger and hatred and ignorance. First, yes, it's true he owns hotels. He doesn't have a lot of legals working for him. If he did, do you not think it would have been the first thing you read about? Ain't on a damn list either, honey. Because you'd have heard about that too. Because right now, people are being subpoenaed that would have used it. Because in the very beginning, a man named Brennan walked down the hall, went up to Comey, the head of the FBI, and said, guess what? Hillary's got an idea here, a little plan, something about Russia. I think we should be on it. I think we should look into this, get this ball rolling. That's what you're going to hear about in the upcoming weeks. And that is the beginning of the whole enchilada. Watch and learn. Let's watch a ghost story. This one is cute. Now, this is what I wanted to do. I have not seen this one. I saw the very beginning. I like the guy's personality, and it's a Ghostly Encounters. But I found it interesting because I heard in the beginning when he starts to describe it that he was a magician, so he was very interested in that. And I'm not sure if the haunting that he experienced as a kid actually got him interested in magic. Like we had seen a couple of weeks ago, we saw a story where the young man was, I guess, visited by a skeleton and a reaper or something, but actually made him get more into, thanks, Uncommon. It is too, man. I'm telling you, if you got, I wish I could tell you the things that I think are going on. I mean, I could do a whole show, but if I could just get a night to do it, I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it and show you all kinds of stuff. But, and I'm still working on that, all that. And I know I've been saying it a while, but it's not just up to me. So anyhow, I mean, I have to share this space. So I thought it interesting because, like I said, I'm wondering, since that was kind of not really a muse, but I think it inspired that one dancer to just be more about him and building up his resistance to the dark side. And he took it out in dance, and that inspired him to be a better dancer. So I thought that was very kind of shamanistic, because you embrace the hard times because it's going to make you stronger. You embrace the difficulties because it builds up your resistance and your muscle and your character, your wisdom, your hard-earned education, to get street cred. Trust me, life cred, we should call it. So I don't know how this one went, but I thought it'd be interesting if we saw it together. It's short, it's like 10 minutes, and get an idea of what we all think is happening along the way. So I want you to put your comments in the comments, obviously, and I'm going to go back over and see what y'all were saying when I was saying that, because again, I can see a little bit of it, but if I'm kind of channeling and talking, whatever I was doing, if I read everything, I'm going to lose my train of thought, and just everything's going to go more wonky than it already is. So, let's watch this. This is a Ghostly Encounters. I forget the young man's name, but I know it's in here, so it's a good one. And it's short. Let's see what's going on with this guy. Hey, Woo.
I've always had an interest in magic. I've been watching magic on television and live for my entire life. One of my uncles was a part-time magician growing up, and I was exposed to magic from an early age. Eventually led to me choosing it as a career option. One experience that I have that sparked my interest in the paranormal is a house that I lived in the early 80s, early to mid 80s. My family and I moved into a house in North York, and the first impression I got off the house was I didn't like it. I remember when I used to come home sometimes, I used to see the house, and I used to feel dread. I didn't want to walk into my own home, because it looks like the house is watching you, The two windows are like eyes. You create this in your mind. You're looking at it. You got to walk into this doorway, which is its mouth, and it's going to consume you in some way. You're a child. You don't have the freedom to say, hey, look, I'm moving out. You got to stick it out. You got to stay. You got to figure out the best way around it. One such incident that I experienced firsthand was hearing people walking around. So whoever this was who was haunting the house was able to move about the house as if it's still there. Being home alone, playing video games, feeling as if the house is watching me, it's freaky, it's scary, there's something going on that I can't explain. So I was quite vulnerable in the sense because I was alone. It was my entire stay in this house that I can recall being a haunted experience. Being home alone, playing video games, feeling as if the house is watching me. It's freaky, it's scary, there's something going on that I can't explain. So I was quite vulnerable in the sense because I was alone.
Showman.
Being alone, I had to come up with ways to either ignore what was happening or just accept it, as this is just a part of the environment that I'm in.
Poor kid.
Honest, I used to sometimes freak myself out. I would think about it to the point where I would be frozen with fear and have to run upstairs and not want to be in the basement. I used to get up in the morning early, and we obviously, like any kid, you get up on a Saturday morning to watch TV, and I get up really early, about 6 in the morning. It's about 9 or 10 at the time. And I'd come upstairs into the kitchen area, and I'd go and I'd get myself some cereal. I remember the kitchen cabinet doors would be opened up. I don't really recall saying anything to anybody about it, but I remember it being something that I thought about over time in the day.
Probably PK energy off the ghost. A
One
woman?
strange
Think
event
about it.
that I recall was I was in the backyard and I was playing around. It was the middle of the afternoon. And for some reason I had a compulsion to go and dig. This was 8-10 feet away from where I was. The feeling was kind of as if I was told to go dig there, but no one actually said anything. No one actually forced me to go. There was no voice coming from the house in the backyard or anything like that. But I was just, for some reason, I just turned around and kind of knew to go out into the backyard and dig a hole.
Impulse. How many people have had this happen? Your intuition.
And
Think
found
about
a
it.
Vintage, what would have been probably 1920s or 1930s toy soldier. And I remember it was like a rifleman, and it was crudely painted and sort of, it was lead because it wasn't rusted, and wearing like a tin hat. And at that moment, I remember thinking the house gave this to me, and I didn't want it. Not only did I want to not only get rid of it, because I could have easily just threw it back in the ground and covered it up, it would have still been there. I wanted to destroy it and get rid of it. I went down into the basement and I crushed it in a vise. I remember bringing it upstairs and putting it in the garbage at the side of the road. I didn't even put it in the kitchen garbage. I brought it outside because it was garbage day. But it was a strange event. Like, I don't recall anything like it ever again in my life, or anything that I've experienced that can compare to that sort of feeling that go dig this hole for no apparent reason, and there's something there. And I remember it as if it was yesterday. One of the main events of the house that I can recall was at nighttime. I opened my eyes, and lo and behold, there was a woman in the room staring at me only a few feet away at the end of the bed. And I sat up and looked at her thinking it was a relative or my grandmother, but I realized it wasn't somebody I knew. Realized it was something that was unusual. She was all in gray. I could see that she looked like she may have been a housewife. Her hair was pulled back into either a bun or into a ponytail. She looked like she was not too old. She looked like she was in her early to mid 40s. And she just basically stood there and looked at me. And of course, this freaked me right out. I turned over and turned on the television that was next to the bed and literally watched her disappear as the TV came on and brought light into the room. It was just too real and uncanny to have just been something that I dreamt and assumed had been a reality in the middle of the night. So I'd been awake for a little while afterwards, lying there freaked right out. But I remember this time knowing, like, this is something that's in the house, and being totally blown away by it.
What kids
The
go
only thing I
through.
could pick up off of her was possibly a sense of a little bit of melancholy would be the only thing I could describe it as. But there was no interaction, there was no communication, all other than her just looking at me. I feel the house is a very strange puzzle. I kind of look back at it and wonder what happened there, who she was, and where she fits into the bigger scheme of things with this house. And what I've always thought would be a interesting backstory to what happened was the woman died at a young age in the house, and something drove her to her death, whether it be illness or an event that happened in the house, and she's still there. Maybe she's a mother who lost a child, and she's trying to comfort me in this spooky environment and giving me things. She's watching me over in the middle of the night. Or maybe her husband was a soldier that never came home from war. You know, there's the soldier reference. But there's no proof. I have no backstory for this person, so I don't know.
Chris says his ghostly encounters drove him to explore how the mind works when it's faced with the unexplainable. Our expert Patty Allen tells us that this kind of curiosity is essential for a performing mind reader or magician. Without it, Chris couldn't be the successful illusionist he is today. Kyle's ghosts seem to have turned the tables on him, so what began as a fun way to make some cash has turned into a serious profession. And both men acknowledge they owe a debt of gratitude to the supernatural for helping them flourish in their careers.
I feel that the experiences I had as a young person can definitely contribute to know how to control other people's experiences when it comes to things like the unknown. I just obviously have to tone it down a little bit because it's just for fun. People are paying to get scared. And
sometimes you
Scared.
think,
Oh, that one we saw.
I don't know.
That one's scary. This is the one where the guy, the gargoyle comes after him and pulls the cross off his neck, but there's no hole, there's no opening in the jump ring, and there's no rip in the chain, and that's how he knows it really happened. I think he got a lot of strength from his bad experience too. So let's talk about the magician here. Seems like a very benign haunting. The tin soldier thing where he was told to go dig a hole over here, that's really something. I didn't know what he was going to dig up. I was expecting, something she had buried from the husband or whatever it may have been. They were showing us that picture. I don't know what that was about of the soldier, but the fact that it creeped the kid out, like the house gave this to me. So, I mean, to think that he was so in tune at that age, I don't know how old he was. The reenactment there, he looked like what, about 9, 10. So, what can we take from that? Number one, kids go through all kinds of hell that we just can't even fathom. And, I try to take that into consideration when, I meet an adult that's a little, you know what I mean? You don't know what they've been through. It's no excuse. But in some cases it is, you know what I mean? At least you look at things different. So this to me, if the way he is recounting it, this is what happened. It seems to me very benign, but it's probably a female ghost who lived in the house before, assuming she's the only one in there. I believe that they don't go around and open all the cabinet doors. It's something about a burst of energy that kind of just makes everything go, which is mind-boggling because there's nothing electronic to a cabinet door, or a drawer. I could see, walking by and having blenders go off, or, the coffee pot or something like that. But this is a non-electronic thing, yet still their energy, there's like this burst of energy that the doors and drawers and everything are just reacting to. I don't know, just a theory, the thought. She's probably very frustrated and forlorn and maybe somewhat protective over this kid. Who knows? Like she wanted to give him something. Hey, I know there's a toy here. He would enjoy it, which is kind of disappointing when he busted it up. Because if she was watching that, she wanted to give him a gift, she would have been probably put off and hurt by that. So, or if she can read minds, she would know why he was doing it, that she scared him, and that she would probably feel like that's not what I wanted to do. So there's a lot there, all assumption. We're just spitballing here. It seemed to have a good effect on him, made him think, the young man who had the experience, it didn't mess with him too much. It seemed to propel him in certain directions, maybe even inspire him. So all ghost experiences aren't bad, right? And like I said, it seemed to be a very benign. He was scared. He turned on the TV and she disappeared. But he wasn't having, that whole thing where you hear something coming down the stairs and he's scared to death and all that. Yeah, he did crush it in a vice, little shit. Yeah. He wants to be noticed. Yeah, I mean, right away, I'm always sad when there's no conclusion. Hey, everybody on Rumble and Facebook, I forgot to say hi to you guys and everybody on YouTube. Thanks so much. Hit the like, subscribe if you're not. And please come over and join the Rumble. We're having a good time. We're actually getting pretty lucky. They're letting us, I think we've got a couple that we were able to see through and they didn't cut us off. So we're doing really good. There's a great 4th of July extravaganza on there. You can watch so many different things that have to do with just a tour of Independence Hall and a tour of where the Liberty Bell is. There's a tour of St. John's Church. Where Patrick Henry, Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death. So many different things. There's 3 different movies that I felt had a lot to do with 4th of July for me. And that was Jaws and Gettysburg in its entirety, all 4 hours. And we finished with 1776 on our movie night. So it was really cool. I put a lot of different stuff in between different little, tchotchkes here and there. I hope you enjoy it. So if you want to go back and watch it, if you hadn't seen Jaws in a while or something, you might be able to catch it. And if you haven't seen 1776, I highly recommend it. So I'm saying I can't vouch for everybody that's in office right now. I don't know everybody. I don't know my neighbor that well. Do you understand? But when you watch somebody for decades and you know that they have a certain pattern, just like ghosts, you kind of get a feeling of what they're going to do and why they're doing it. And I got a chuckle when that man comes out on his social media and he says, don't talk about Epstein. And then he hits the button and I just know he chuckles and goes, watch what happens now. And everybody's talking. Everybody's shaking their fist. Everybody's angry about it. For the children. Damn skippy it is. But now everybody's saying it. People who couldn't agree on a damn thing are standing in a Walmart now, waiting in line, go, you know what? I'm pissed off too. We got to save these babies. And we do. But they weren't talking about it last week. Nobody gave a crap. The only time they cared is because now they can be mad at him and care about it too. And that inspired some people. Well, honey, if that's how we got to get you to the trough to drink, I'm all for it. Bring it on. But this time you better drink. Now, somebody in here tell me. Come on. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for the delay in the chat. Because somebody's going to say it. You can leave Cisco. I know you're well-intentioned, honey. And I know that you really believe and you've got and all this stuff, but you just can't. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I understand that. I'm absolutely for it. And people do have free will. But at some point in time, if you know the horse is going to die if it doesn't drink, and you just had enough with the playing around and the spitballing and the just everything else and the lies and the BS. If you hold their head underwater and kick them swiftly in the balls, I guarantee you they're going to gulp. That's what you're seeing now. And I myself am enjoying the hell out of it. So, to be a light worker in a world of darkness, the number one thing you got to do is be able to recognize the light. And when the good guy is wrestling the bad guy, and the bad guy is breaking all the rules, and the good guy is trying hard, let's give him a little encouragement. Let's root for the good side. You may not like the person or the people, but keep rooting for the good side. Keep rooting for what's right. Keep fighting what you think is right. Work in your community. Help out pick something. Make a difference. One person can make a difference. I spent how many episodes of, you pick it, of people who made a difference and kept trying. And did what they felt that they were going to put back into the world. Make it a little nicer, a little brighter. Keep the lights on. Keep fighting for the kids. If you hear people at the Walmart screaming and yelling about this and that, and say, I'm just as, I can feel your emotion and I understand, and I'm just as angry as you, but you know what? I feel really good about the 10,000 kids out of that 385 that got lost over the past 4 years, pouring over the border and being handed off to anybody with a phone number and a pickup truck. I'm so glad that that's over. And although I'm not stupid and I know that slavery and human trafficking is number one commodity in the globe right now, over guns and over drugs, and something needs to be done about it. So I'm right there with you. But I've been watching for the past several years. Since that man got off the escalator, one of the first EOs he signed was he was going to go after human traffickers. And my God, the amount that has been stopped, the amount of children found, some not found alive, but closure, definitely not the same. This is your reality. When you get mad at that. And I'm really happy that I'm watching a lot of these scumbags going to jail. There are people going to jail who deserve it. But we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the information. But I can see what I can see, and I like it. And when you kind of know the personality of the people, and he keeps doing it, and people fall for it every time. I've been watching him do it forever. I'm like, watch what happens. Stop talking about this. That's all you see. Yeah. It's quite something to see. All the evidence and the people coming out and discussing it and saying, oh, wait a minute, that was debunked. That's wrong information. This is true and this is true. And here's the, this is what he was really involved in, and all the different podcasts coming out and all the big heavy hitters coming out, and they're giving their opinion, and some of them are really angry and just all over the place, and some are just cool and calm, and some are smiling like me going, we in it now. Look what he just did. What's everybody talking about? Why is that thing not signed? Why was it dropped on a Sunday? Why would it be dropped by that newspaper? Why is nobody really owning up to it? Why are people with gray check marks on X saying, I was in the room, everybody signed it? Where? I don't see a signature. This is like the Biden resignation letter. It was just tossed out there in the middle of the night. Remember that one? So you have to use your common sense, and you have to think, why would good guys drop that on a Sunday after what we had just celebrated on the weekend? It almost looked to me like somebody wanted to throw a wrench in the party. And I see others that kind of went, okay, now we have to do so. Let's lean into this. This is what we have to throw out there. Because if we don't throw this out there, boom, boom, boom. And to them, it very well may be done right there. This happened. I don't buy a thing going on in that cell. Listen, we could talk for hours on that. I'm not saying, look, I don't know anything. I don't know if I have more evidence that said he was murdered than suicide, going on the ME and all that other stuff. And I can't say, but I'm telling you what, Bongino and Cash looked like they were being held hostage when they were talking to Maria Bartiromo. Their body language was, and what do I mean by that? Looked like they were in a place, I've recognized this, okay? When you're a soldier and you're given a mission and you have to go in and you have to tell people this is what's going on, because if you don't tell them that, the mission is going to be destroyed. More people are going to be hurt. So you have to go even though you disagree with everything going on, you know damn well if you don't do this, more bad things are going to happen. So you have to, you know, get a hold of yourself. You have to put on your military bearing and a straight face, and you have to go in there and handle that. That is a mission. The art of the deal. Absolutely. And it's Sun Tzu. Appear weak when you are strong. Never interfere with your enemy when they're busy destroying themselves. Sun Tzu. There is a pattern and a process to this, people, and it has to be done right. But in my humble opinion, it is being done, and I see it, and I see the light in it, and I need you to see the light in it. Find something that makes you, that you're okay with. Right now tonight, I would say, for the kids. Well, there was kids in Texas, too, that got hit with a flood. And I can honestly tell you it was a lot differently handled this time than during Helene. And I have people right here in this chat that can tell you that was horrible. And the community was the ones who came together on that one. They were fighting some real darkness that should have been there bringing the light. Well, this time they got the light. There was help from the federal government within hours, deployed in every direction, help being handed out, communities helping hands. For the life of me, I don't know what those cabins were doing there in the first place. If it had been flooded in 1987, you can research that yourself. Same place, same lake, same river rather. But 26 feet in an hour, that's 3 stories. And yeah, they were given warning. There was plenty of people at the weather station. There's a lot of lies being thrown around. For the life of me, I don't know how somebody could have such a black heart that they could lie about anything that has anything to do with a child being harmed, hurt, and especially killed. But I think it really has brought out the nasty in people. To me, they're just demons raising their head. They're hissing. It's like a pile of snakes, just miserable hissing and complaining and bitching and just, armchair quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Shithouse lawyers. Well, if I was in charge, I would just, why don't you be in charge then? Why don't you run for council? Why don't you run for city something or other? Why don't you go down there and join the PTDMA? Make sure there's no porn in the library, in your third grade kids' library. I don't care who you are. That's wrong. And if you think that's right, honey, I hope they bring back the men in the white coats and the white vans. I promise you I do. I'm telling you what, when I was a kid, there was a real fear. Everybody I knew that was older than me said, if you don't start acting right, men in white coats gonna come get you. They even had songs about it. They're coming to take me away. Ho ho ha he. There was a real, yeah, I know, Simply Ghost. I'm sorry. I apologize, Renice. Okay, hold on. Here we go.
just whisper the word ghost. In seconds, you'll be immersed in a tale of unexplainable occurrence, one that appears to completely defy rational explanation. Everybody, everywhere, has a ghost story. Alberta's Rocky Mountains, as beautiful as they are mysterious. In 1885, the Government of Canada set aside just over 2,500 square miles in the heart of this pristine wilderness, creating Canada's first national park.
Sir John A. Macdonald, who piloted the bill through Parliament to establish the park, saw it as a spa along European lines where the wealthy would come to spend periods of time to take the waters, to relax and enjoy the scenery and the surrounding area.
Each year, the park enjoyed more and more visitors, and it wasn't long before the Canadian Pacific Railroad built the 843-room Banff Springs Hotel. By 1928, it was recognized as one of the world's best. Its reputation built on fine foods, lavish accommodations, and impeccable service. Its guest list from many of its many generations reads like who's who.
Earlier in the century, royalty were the epitome of stardom. The King of Siam in the early 1920s was thought to be a very famous person. People who were famous in the music world, people like Benny Goodman and radio, Jack Benny. And of course, movie stars have always been in this area. Many movies have been made here. Many famous movie stars have visited here, right up to Marilyn Monroe, who made some movies in this area, Alan Ladd, people of their vintage, and right up to Clint Eastwood and so on, people like that in the current day. For each period of time, the people who were famous at that time did come to Banff, and they still do.
Over its nearly 100-year history, the Banff Springs Hotel has enjoyed catering to the high life, and sometimes, as legend has it, to the afterlife. Along these majestic halls float stories as timeless and haunting as the hotel itself. One of the most intriguing is that of Sam Macaulay, affectionately known as the helpful bellman.
Sam was a bit of a character. He was a people person. He always was clowning. He was entertaining people. He had white hair. He was a Scottish accent, and he was always in the public spaces, greeting the guests, and a very jovial and happy person when he was working.
Not content to serve the hotel's population only in life, it is said that Sam continues to serve the guests of this great hotel 40 years after his death.
Before his death, he vowed that he would come back and haunt the hotel. And of course, the staff that knew him just chuckled and laughed.
One evening, a new bellman worked the hotel desk alone for the first time. He was feeling a little overwhelmed, doing his very best to accommodate each new request.
Bellman? Yes.
Two ladies who were waiting on the 9th floor, they tried to access their room with their key, and it wasn't working, and Dad called for a night lock, and the nightman was very busy, and he mentioned that he apologized, but he'd be up there as soon as possible.
Minutes later, an elderly gentleman came to the aid of the two women.
Hi, you've been calling for a bellman. We can't get into our room.
I have a key with me.
Okay, that's great.
There you are, lady.
Thank you very much.
Then he quickly went on his way. Later, when the young bellman made his way to the women's room, he found them already comfortably inside and was informed that the other bellman had helped him.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening.
Oh, I see that you're all settled in.
Yes.
How did you get in?
An older gentleman let us in.
After recounting the story to his supervisor, the young bellman was informed that the only person that fit that description was Sam. To this day, employees of the hotel say that Sam continues to help anyone in need, guest and staff alike.
We work graveyards. We all take turns. And when you're walking, the hotel's very quiet. And when you're walking down the hall, a lot of times the elevator opens up for you. You go inside, floors pushed that you want to go to. And it happens so many times. It's pretty strange. I just don't know.
Another mysterious tale from the Springs hallowed halls involves a beautiful bride, a winding staircase, and a tragic accident, now known forever as the legend of the Burning Bride. It was the perfect day for the perfect spring wedding, set in the most magnificent surroundings.
The incident that took place there in the early 30s of the daughter, and it was the only daughter of a very prominent family in Calgary, and the parents of this young lady were personal friends of the then manager of the Banff Springs Hotel.
A lavish affair in the true 1930s style. Calgary's social elite had gathered to celebrate.
The day arrived, day something like today, early June bride, many people, and the ceremony was to take place in the oval room overlooking the Bow Valley.
Following the nuptials, the wedding's reception was to be held in the Rob Roy dining room, one floor below. But this happy occasion was to have a quick and tragic end. As the young bride descended the candlelit staircase, she lost her footing. As she fell, the flames of the candles caught the hem of her wedding gown. Before her terrified new husband and hundreds of horror-stricken wedding guests, she met her tragic end.
But it was a very, very tragic day in the life of the family, and a very, very tragic day for the hotel.
Afterwards, the hotel manager, vowing that no one would ever suffer such a tragedy again, had the great stone staircase sealed forever.
Today, 60 years later, that staircase is still closed.
Exactly 1 year later to the day, a hotel staff member reported seeing an iridescent phantom, a woman dressed in white, dancing the wedding waltz that death had so spitefully stolen. Among us who hasn't at one time contemplated an afterlife, a resting place, a heaven, a hell? The human fascination with what happens after our lives has been with us every bit as long as our fascination with what happens during our lives. And of course, the thrilling possibilities of an unexplored world have prompted some souls to dig deeper, to try and understand, explain, and even to try and contact the other side. One of the more notable was Eric Weiss, a turn-of-the-century performer, thinker, and dreamer, better known as Harry Houdini. It was on a ship bound for England that Harry first received news of his mother's passing. Completely overcome with grief, he pleaded for the ship to be turned around. Impossible, of course. Harry would simply have to live with the fact that his mother died without him. Or would he? Over the next several years, Houdini exhausted every known medium, trying desperately to win a second chance at a proper farewell.
When he went to see a medium and he caught her at doing something that wasn't right, he would expose her. And of course, that made headlines the following days in the newspapers. And he'd go medium after medium after medium, exposing each one that he caught cheating.
As far as we know, Harry never did make contact with his deceased mother, but his interest was piqued, and his belief in another world, another consciousness, was so strong, he promised his wife that following his death, if there were any way for him to contact her, he would.
Houdini left 2 messages. He always believed that if anybody could come back, it would be he, being the escapologist he was. However, he didn't say he would come back, but just in case, he left an envelope. In this envelope is a letter from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle with 10 words circled. Those 10 words plus a code, which I carry in my pocket all the time, combined make up the message which Houdini will bring back if he comes back.
Harry Houdini died October 31st, 1926, Halloween night. His wife Bess enlisted the aid of mediums in numerous attempts to make contact.
Seances are a different story. After Houdini died, Mrs. Houdini tried to contact Houdini for 10 years, from 1926 to 1936. She was never successful in contacting him, but in 1936, at the last seance at the Knickerbocker Hotel in Los Angeles, something very strange happened, and that was they were in an outside garden at the top of the Knickerbocker Hotel, and it was a beautiful afternoon or night, and they no sooner started the seance, and it started pouring rain. So everybody said, well, that's one way Houdini would come back, is he's not just going to appear, he's going to appear in some other phenomenon. The last seance is well recorded. At the end of it, Mrs. Houdini says, Houdini, you did not come back. I now reverently turn out the light.
But just as this famous performer believed he could reach beyond the veil of death, many thousands of people claim to have had authentic encounters with loved ones after they had crossed over. In fact, it's estimated that more than 70% of the population may have had such experiences. That's a large number, too large to ignore.
Our primary emphasis is to understand the portions of the brain that mediate the experiences rather than trying to demonstrate if they are correct or incorrect.
Neuroscientist Dr. Michael Persinger has been studying brain function and the issues surrounding the human experience for over 30 years.
My primary training is in the area of brain function. For many years I was involved in researching the relationship between unusual human behaviors and geophysical processes such as certain seismic and geomagnetic effects. So I have a background in the general theory of geophysics, but my primary thrust is involved with the relationship between brain and behavior and all of the ramifications of it.
One particularly interesting area of Dr. Persinger's study involves post-mortem apparitions, an area that has developed some curious discoveries.
The sense of a presence usually is described as some entity or person or thing behind the individual. The most common one takes place after the death of someone significant. Often it's called a bereavement hallucination or a post-mortem apparition. These experiences are extraordinarily common. They usually occur within about 3 to 4 days of the person's death. And we know that the portions of the brain that are activated are the same portions of the brain that involve memory and meaning, personal meaning. But they have to be stimulated or enhanced with the hormones and the chemistry associated with grief.
John Van Esch of London, Ontario, lost his younger sister Vera while vacationing overseas. One night, soon after Vera's death, John lay quietly in his darkened bedroom, his mind floating somewhere between sleep and wakefulness.
I was in bed, and it was right at that state where you know you're not asleep, but you're just about ready to depart. You're just about ready to sink off into sleep. And my sister all of a sudden appeared at the foot of my bed, and it was almost a flesh and blood kind of thing where you could almost reach out and touch it, but there was something about it, and I almost intuitively sensed, you know, that it wasn't real, because of course I knew that she was dead, that there was some kind of almost a two-dimensional quality to it, that it wasn't really real, you know, in a way, you almost feel cheated at that point, you know, that this isn't the real thing, and you wish it could be. She didn't talk to me, but it was almost as if she was talking inside of my head. And she basically passed along to me that she really didn't want me or my parents to really, or my other sister to really be that sad, or as sad and as feeling as horrible as we did about it, because she had continued, she had gone on, and that she was relatively happy where she was.
Was this experience a common post-mortem apparition? Was it truly Vera's spirit bidding farewell? Was it a complex neurophysiological phenomenon? Or was it a simple, peaceful dream?
Oh, I was awake, oh yeah. And I was kind of stunned because nothing like that had ever happened to me before. And I didn't really move around a whole lot. I just did a lot of thinking about what had just happened. And in general, feeling a lot better about the situation and thinking that, you know, this is really something special that has happened. And it doesn't happen too often in anybody's life. So I really did a lot of thinking about that, and I drifted off to sleep. You know, that sounds anticlimactic, but I just went to sleep.
Dreams or reality? John Van Esch went to bed thinking one way and woke up thinking another.
Yep. Love that.
I think it has made a kind of a change in my life. It hasn't totally changed me because I still am who I am, and that includes all my warts and everything else. But yeah, it's made me feel easier about the thought of death.
There you go. And that's like the whole point of all this for a lot of people, I think, as far as looking into the paranormal and the supernatural and questioning it. And, you know, it's not just we all love a good ghost story, or we love to sit around and, you know, and tell them around the campfire or fireplace, whatever. And that we'd like to be scared, and we like the jump scares, and some of that goes too far if you ask me. I'm not a slasher movie person. It's more the thing you imagine. It could be in the closet or under the bed, you know. As loony as he's been lately, bless his heart, Stephen King used to write amazing stories, you know, stories like The Body, which is The Stand By Me, is the movie. Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. Some of those are his best. The Shining, of course, is a masterpiece, I think, in my opinion. And so many others, and a lot of them are the short stories. There was one that was about, it was kind of a spinoff from Salem's Lot. And, I forget the name of it. I'll think of it in a minute if I talk about something else. So anyway, stories like that, he'd describe it, but you know, your imagination. He always said that the scariest thing is the thing you have to imagine, you know, like I just said, under the bed or whatever, what the monster looks like or what it is, what it wants, even worse. But I think there's a lot of truth to that. And our imaginations can kind of get a little crazy. But isn't that really what just fear is? What we imagine things to be, what we imagine will happen, what we fear will happen, you know? But I think that if we look back and we look at the things we've already been through and the things that on our journey, whether it's paranormal or paranormal investigation or just experiences, you know, you bumped into Bigfoot, you know, UFO stuff, any of that unexplained stuff, that is the first thing that we fear. And the more we learn about that, I think we feel less of that. We feel less of the fear, which is this typical thing, you know, that everybody goes through. the unknown, until you find it out, until you learn more about it. And that's what this whole night really has been about. And I'm sorry I went on, but here's the thing. Sometimes, again, I'll say it, something needs to be said. Granted, I'm fired up right now. I'm firing on all cylinders because I trained for this all my life, I feel. If very much like that Joan of Arc thing, not that I'm Joan of Arc, but just the saying of, I'm not afraid I was born for this. And I think a lot of you feel that way too, but you're dealing with it in your own ways. The light workers, whatever you're doing in life, you might be, for your family, for yourself, for a community, a business, your own business, an art, whatever it is. You're creating music, helping animals, helping people. You're putting it out there. And I think we've learned our light gets brighter and less susceptible to the bullshit and the darkness because we've been through so much. We have trained and we are here for this time. I think there's a lot more, like we were talking with Jim and Mike last week about the uptick in spirits coming over from the other side to help earthbound spirits now. It seems like it's really ramping up. There's a lot of things going on, but we tend to forget there's a lot of things going on with the living too, and the things we're going through. And I think it's a horrible waste of experience to keep it to yourself, the things that you've been through, the things that you're thinking, the things that you're going through, that you made it through and learned something from. You understand what I'm saying? We try to tell the youth, how many times we tried to tell kids, listen, man, I wouldn't do that if I were you. You don't want to get in your, do this and this and this, because this is going to happen. Trust me. That's what I did and it happened to me, whatever. Learn from my wisdom. I've already paid for that lesson, don't do it. Well, chances are they're going to go right out and do it, but I know I did. But it's the same thing that I'm saying right now, whether it's ghost stories, paranormal stuff, living is going through the same things. That little girl came back and told her dad, don't be sad. I'm okay. I continued on. And she probably said other stuff. Like, I love you, tell Nanny, there was probably some personal stuff in there too. She spoke telepathically to him. Time and time again, we hear the stories. And then time and time again, we have the fights with people or a very well-meaning, one of those cool fathers, you know what I mean? It's like the Bronx father sits there and he tells the story. He also happens to be an exorcist or a demonologist. Anyway, I was listening to one last week and I was listening to his explanation for things and I agreed with quite a bit of it. It's a real down to earth dude. And when you start getting up into this part of, am I really talking to my daughter or am I talking to something else? There are some people that will go right up to no, all that's no. Because, and I agree with that in a lot of ways. But man, something, again, I'll say it, that comes in love and it comes in warmth and there's no hooking, bait and hook show going on here where it's something, trying to trick you or a mimic or something worse. Why can't you go with the love? Why can't you accept the miracle and the coolness of it like that guy did? Hey, Brian, how you doing? That's all I'm asking. Why is it always we choose the negative? Why is we always choose to get mad so fast? And we want to believe that, we want to talk to other people who feel like we do, and we want to be angry with them, and we want them to be angry with us. And we want to quick to judge and doing all the things. And it is very much like somebody said earlier, mob rules. You've got the Bigfoot people against the UFO people. You got the dog man against the little gray man, or whatever. Yours can't be true. Mine's true. My evidence is better than your evidence. I know what that ghost wants, and we're going to do, we're going to do this, and we're going to provoke it, and we're going to get lots of evidence, and then we're going to write a book or whatever the heck. When it's so much more, because it's the living trying to learn from all these amazing lessons that very few get to stay back and convey whatever their message is, or cross over and come back and give us one, and sometimes that's in the form of an NDE where the person never didn't stay and came back, wasn't their time, or whatever you may say. I think it's very interesting because so few people learn those lessons. If we could look at them, I know it's calmed me down a lot, seriously, it makes me stop and think, hold on, wait a minute, we're accountable. So maybe I want to think about that, Maybe I shouldn't think that way. Maybe I should. There was something that happened a couple weeks ago that could have really ticked you off because it was, was a time schedule thing or whatever. And right away you would think, man, why would they do that? Are they doing this to, it could have gone that way. Or hold on a minute, what are they up to? What's going on? Why are they stepping on me? You have to back up 40,000 foot view and go, hold on a minute. I know the character of these people. If nothing show me otherwise, I bet you I know what happened. And then you approach it in this way and say, hey, is it possible that, you possibly thought, and, could I be off? And I know you never, and it's a total mistake. But if we jump to a conclusion, we can even cause stuff. Listen, there's minions out there. The dark side's at work, babe. And they're pushing a lot of buttons. There's no time for cracks in your windshield. Whether you're dealing with ghosts and you're out there, especially now. I would highly recommend anybody going out to investigate between now and I'd say probably right on up to Christmas. That's a big chunk of time. But I need you thinking about it because there's a lot of timelines. There's a lot of, people that know better than I do. Check with them about the alignment of the planets and Mercury and the rising house of whatever. I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of shifting, a lot of vibrational frequencies, and you can almost feel certain parts of, I guess you could say, the globe where everything is just kind of like, whoa, the energy just kind of pulsates and then calms down. And I know that sounds nuts, but if you're I'm probably calling it wrong, but a global empath, you pick this up, and you pick it up a lot when you're going through, like I said, we've talked about this before. You're going through a diner is different than walking through a Walmart. Standing in line and being around close proximity to a lot of people who have a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry, like maybe they don't have enough money to pay, or they're thinking about going back and getting that other thing, or there's so many emotions going on. You have to block yourself from that, which is tiring because you're also trying to get your stuff done, and some people are better at it than others. And some people block themselves so much they forget to experience, that sensation, using their senses to see what that feels like, so you know what you're fighting. I'm explaining it badly. Okay, I'm going into a grocery store. Depends on the grocery store. It's really, really bright. Really busy day. Say it's a Saturday before everybody goes to barbecue like a holiday. Everybody is full of anxiety. Everybody's in a hurry. It's extremely bright. There's a lot of electricity going around. You've already got kind of almost like a fear cage thing going on already with just the EMFs bouncing around inside the place. You've got freezers, you've got registers and Wi-Fi, and just imagine, okay? And you've also got the color effects of what they've put up to make you want to spend money, make you a little bit more anxious, like reds and, you know, all the colors they use in grocery stores. It's a science, trust me. It makes you want to spend money, makes you hungry. A lot of those things. So you're fighting all of that. And then you're fighting all of this containment of all this different anxiety and energy and people having all these different bombastic feelings all crammed into one place. And then you have your own. This is a good test because before you walk in, take a base reading of how you feel. Take a couple of breaths. Go over in your head what you want to do. It's like, I'm going in here for bread and milk and maybe look at, you know, that sale I heard about. Whatever it may be. You know, you got your stuff together and ready to complete your mission. Before you go in, take a baseline reading and then walk around and feel the energy of the people coming towards you. And maybe if you can, even as they get close to you, if you can do it without, you know, causing any kind of, nobody wants a scene, you know. See if you can just close your eyes and just use your other senses and feel the person walk by. And see how you feel when you leave and how much you picked up while you were there. This is a good practice on getting through your daily life as well. And being on paranormal investigations or dealing with an active haunted house, or maybe you live in one. You know, these are all good lessons. And it also helps you deal with the stuff I was talking about in the beginning of this show. And one of the reasons I reached out and I laid so much of that down is because I see a lot of my people suffering. I see a lot of people that are jumping to conclusions. I see a lot of people that are just reading headlines and losing it. I've seen people that are so angry, and the things that they're saying, I can tell they have zero idea of what's actually going on, or even what's really in front of them that they can guess is a fact, you know, at least what's being presented as fact, and they're taking it wrong and they're suffering for it. And they're also willfully buying into the bad guy's plot, because now you're expelling your energy, you're angry, you're mad, you're arguing with people, you had the rug pulled out from under you, you think you lost your hope, as somebody was saying here, for no reason at this point, but they pushed the buttons. Amazing timing. And people are suffering for it. And light workers are letting their candle flicker a little bit because they're going, wow, yeah, that was, what a blow. And forgetting who they are and knowing that they need to go back and get a 40,000-foot view, just like you're looking at your cases and your experiences and your studies and your research. Because it's an emotional pull, it's an emotional subject, such as losing a loved one, dealing with that grief. And then all of a sudden you're in your room and that loved one comes and tells you that they're okay telepathically. And you come back and you tell your experience and nobody believes that. And you say, trust me, I know my grandmother. I know how she smelled. I know how she sounded. I know what she called me. I know a lot of things. And then you have people on the other side, very knowledgeable people who are really cool in a world that's not always cool. you know, and they come out and, you know, with their theology and their understanding and their heartfelt explanation, which, again, like I said, I agreed an awful lot with it. But then they get up to the point where you could never hear from a loved one. And I'm thinking, gosh, wouldn't that be from the Creator too, you know? That love, that warmth. If it's of love and it's of light with no bad payoff in the end, no trick at the end, you know, the walls didn't bleed, you know, you didn't turn to drugs. You weren't bothered after that by multiple horrible things. I had to flee. Tell me how that's not a good thing. You have a hard time convincing me, because I've seen it turn people's lives around. And that, to me, that gives people hope. And that's what we need right now. So here's the deal. Light workers, lights up. You don't have to understand everything. You just don't fear it, because we know better. And fear creates loosh. Loosh feeds the bad things that want us to suffer and want us to lose. And losing is not an option. Sorry I took up so much night with my rhetoric, but here's the thing. It's all connected. It's all conspiracy. It's all deducing true crime. Boy, true crime. You want to talk about true crime? You know, and it's a big part of my life too, and it's a big part of what gives me strength to sit here and babble on and make a fool out of myself and try to tell you guys how to live, how to get through whatever it is you're going through. Because we all got something, right? And it gives to know that there's a chance that, you know, our loved ones can see us from the other side, and our ancestors can look down on us and say, you know what, I fought for life and, you know, gave my kids life, and that child, you know, had a child, and, you know, I'm looking at several generations away from me, but look what my bloodline is doing. These people are warriors. They're here for this time, and they're helping people get through it and maybe not lose it again. Like, we look through history and people just lost it over words, over ideas, over confusion, over misunderstandings. You know, somebody said it here about, I'm thinking, you know, pitchforks and, you know, tar and feathers and stuff. Here's the thing. What do you know? What do you know that people saw? You know, is it possible there's stuff going on behind it? And I think that's the way we should look at everything when it comes to stuff like this. We can't just walk into a house and assume that, you know, Jim, who died on the couch, you know, drinking beer and smoking a big fat cigar, had a heart attack, and that must be him turning the TV on and off and coming up and down the stairs and pulling the covers off the bed. When it really might be such and such his brother coming to, you know, try to warn somebody about something, or ease their pain or their grief, or 10,000 other things. I can't assume anything. So if you have somebody in your family, or you're going a little bit crazy too, the number one thing, no matter how you're feeling, is to go to the number one thing. No fear. Smile through everything. We're here for a reason. We're going through it for a reason. I assure you it's going to be better than you think. There's a lot going on. And a lot of it's really, really good. I think it's going to be a hell of a week coming up. That's why I took this time. I want you to prepare yourself, because you're liable to hear just about anything in this coming week. Maybe the next 10 days. So I wanted to tell everybody, you might want to use, you know, you use the big candles. But it's going to be fine. Just smile through it, because the more you laugh and the more you smile and the more you keep up that, wow, this is wild, I'm not going to miss this kind of attitude, the bad stuff just bounces off you. The bad guy doesn't win. The good guy is going to win this time. You know, I have a doubt in my mind. I won't allow it. I love y'all. I have some more stories, but here's the thing. A couple of things on business, and I'll let you go. I don't know if Steve's going to be here tomorrow night or not. He's been going through a lot. They're trying to balance everything with the sweet Holden. Being a daddy is a lot of work. So if he's tired, I don't want to drag him, on. I'm going to get him while I can, and we hope we'll get him as much as possible because I miss him dearly. He's my buddy. So, but if he's not, so what I've been doing to try to take the pressure off of him, so he doesn't feel like he has to be here to have, to do a dual research on a subject or whatever. And some things I just do for Steve because I know he knows about them and I want his opinion on it. And, like he's my Tennessee guy and my Deep South, so many different things. He's so good at so many things. It's not the same. So I'm trying to set it up to where if he's here, he can jump in. So there's no pressure on him, but there's no big thing he has to research or spend a lot of time. He needs to spend his time with his family. So, I'll just finish this tomorrow. I have some more ghost stories. We could just continue. If you have any questions, excuse me, look, I don't know. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. But I do know about some of the areas in all this stuff that's going on, just like the paranormal. And I'm not an expert in any of it. And I'm sure you guys know there's things that you're really strong on too, subjects that you're strong on. We need everybody's opinion. Opinion is really wrong. And if I say something that you think is, that you say it too. We're here to learn from each other. Nobody knows everything. And we're going to make wrong choices along the way. It's how you get up, not whether or not you fall. And your character to admit it. I have no problem watching somebody or getting information from somebody who got it wrong and come back the next time and say, yo, got that date wrong, got that time wrong, got the whatever. Just admit it and move on. That's the best way we can learn. Together, we move forward. Together, we get through all of this mess. But don't close your eyes. Don't turn away, because I think this is going to be a time. It's going to be amazing moving forward. Hang in there. Let's keep all the positive vibes we can out. I think that lifts us too, and see you tomorrow night. Let's get out of here. What are we going to do? We're going to dance our way out. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. Hit the like on the way out. Tuesday night's movie is going to be, I believe, John Carpenter's The Thing. What do y'all think about that? Has everybody seen that? Who has not seen The Thing? Tell me on the way out. Love you. Good night, everybody.